The following is a rebroadcast of the Newark City Schools Board of Education's most recent general monthly meeting.
Okay, I'll call to order this meeting of the Newark City School District Board of Education. We're meeting on Monday, September 10th, 2012 at 6:30 p.m. at Carson Elementary. Tonight I will appoint Mr. Harding, the Treasurer Pro Tem, in Mr. Anderson's place while he is absent. Mr. Harding, call the roll, please.
Mr. Blind?
Here.
Mr. Bybee?
Here.
Mr. Carr?
Here.
Mr. Hardin here. Mrs. Nickum?
Here, we have a quorum. And now, Mr. Bybee will lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Thanks, Bev. Will we all stand, please? You know, something just struck me. I got this pen that's on this table, and there's a little inscription with it, and it says, "Success comes when we all pull together." And I've been following the news the last couple of days, and just this morning, about the third largest school district in the United States, in Chicago, and all the trials and tribulations that are going on in the third largest school district in the United States between the teachers and the administration. And you know, I won't stand here and tell you that I know the particulars of the dispute there, but I can say one thing, that those that are involved that get caught up in the middle of that are who? Usually the students and the parents. And again, when I see things like that, it reminds me how fortunate we are in Newark to have the spirit of cooperation and the success that comes when we all pull together. It's just a great thing that we have, and it makes our community better. And again, it helps us with this positive momentum of continuous change that we have going on. So I hope you feel good about that. I know I do, and maybe you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. And now I'd like to recognize Sarah Burles, the principal at Carson Elementary. I think has a few words to say, and thank you for letting us use your building this evening.
Thank you for being here. I just want to welcome everyone and give you a little background on that pin. That pin is our motto here at Carson Elementary, and we wanted to extend that pulling together motto and feeling to our board, because we certainly feel that we have done that over the last year, and not only with our students, our staff, families, and community. Our community also gets involved. Our school supplies oftentimes are provided by this community, churches and what have you in this community, and we just appreciate everyone pulling together for success. So thank you for being here tonight, and join us by pulling with us for success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah. And now we have some representatives from the $1 Million Dream Committee.
I'll help you out a little bit. They have already sent a check for over $26,000 and to be used. Their goal, and I can let you share your goal if you want to share that.
Doing a great job.
Well, basically, their goal was to help students raise money for participation fees, and the board had suspended that for this school year in an attempt to get more students active and those type of things. These ladies, along with other wonderful community members, had raised that $26,000 for this year. They sent that in with the hopes, and it has been, it's divided 50-50 with the athletic department and the fine arts department. And I know in fine arts they'll use that for transportation. So I'm not sure about athletics, if you know anything about athletics, what they're going to use that
I believe Mr.
for.
Quackenbush was putting that towards the transportation as well.
Both transportations as well. So in any event, if they use that towards transportation, they can use other funds that were raised to help students in some other areas. So again, thank you so much for what you've done, and Appreciate it.
Huge thanks to our community. 3 years ago, we got together and sent out letters to community members and friends and made new friends and asked if anybody could help, if was interested in helping our kids here in Newark. And we had a huge response. So for the past 3 years, people just kept opening their wallets and giving us for our kids like we knew Newark would. So we thank all of you and the members of our community and for all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
Do we have a construction update this evening? Okay, now we'll open up the floor to communications from the floor. Anyone wishing to address the board can step to the podium, give your name, address, and you may speak up to 5 minutes. Does anyone wish to address the board this evening?
Sat on this side when I came in. Jeremy Blake, 71 Gaynor Avenue, Newark, Ohio. President of the South Newark Civic Association. I come this evening so that the board is aware that in the month of August, we had a very successful event at Ben Franklin Elementary School. And so I want to thank Mr. Alderpeter, Principal Dina Cable, and then Sandra Wilson in particular for their assistance with that oral history project. And just to give the board a little background, the Civic Association this year has really been working with community partners within South Newark, and Ben Franklin School most definitely has been a partner with us and developing partnerships between the students, their parents, the residents, and other community organizations. And that oral history project that that Dina had hosted for us at the school was, the cafeteria area was full. It was packed. It was a lovely day. We had a good meal for the residents and for the people that joined us. And this month, we're starting interviews of gathering the histories of the families that live within the immediate area surrounding Ben Franklin and South Newark. And I just want the board to know that the staff, the administrative staff, has been very helpful and supportive with developing partnerships in that fashion. And so I just want to come here tonight to say thank you and to give some praise to Dave. I probably called him on his cell phone a little bit too much, but I appreciate him answering. So I do thank him for that. I do want to also publicly express sort of a opinion that I've had with Superintendent Doug for a while, that we really would like to see some type of learning space, outdoor learning space at Ben Franklin, which could be a multiple use. One use obviously for the students and the staff at Ben Franklin, but also some type of use for the community. And so I guess I would like to publicly express that again. I know Doug and I have had some email exchange and even had lunch at Wendy's, I believe, one time. And so hopefully we could see that happen at some point, because the Civic Association really is wanting to continue and developing partnerships and relationships within the community, and that's something that could be utilized very well up in that area. So I express that, and I express thanks, and thank you very much.
Anyone else who wish to address the board this evening? If not, we'll move on to Treasurer's recommendations.
We have the minutes of the regular board meeting from August for approval, the August 13th board meeting. We have approval of the August 2012 financial statements and payments to vendors, the approval of the fiscal year 2013 permanent appropriations resolution, and the approval of a settlement agreement between the City of Newark School District and Joan Costo. Any questions about those? I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Do I have a motion to approve Treasurer's recommendations A through D?
So moved.
Dan has moved. Do I have a second? Tim is second. Any discussion or questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bybee?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Harden? Yes. Ms. Nickum?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to Superintendent's recommendations.
Before I begin, I know sometimes the staff members sneak out too early, but I want to thank the staff at Carson Elementary School, not only for coming tonight, but for their attitude and enthusiasm and environment they create for the students down here. And we're big on that here in the Newark City Schools, and I've enjoyed my couple trips down here, the first couple weeks of school, and, the staff is wonderful leaders, and I know it's easy for you to smile that way because you're in a good position, but what I really appreciate is your leadership that way, because our students down here are just smiling ear to ear, and they're just really happy to be back, and it's a good environment that you provide for them. Plus the fact when you walk in, from a maintenance standpoint, the floors are shiny and a well-kept building, and so we appreciate that. So thanks, Sarah and staff. Under personnel, it's a thick sheet, however, it's a quick one. I would tell you under A4 supplemental contracts, these have come through the board committee, and so we have many supplementals on the agenda tonight. Also, 3 or 4 pages. Also, you'll see the salary positions and adjustments, tutors and substitutes on there, and then under other, there is no other tonight under the personnel, so I recommend approval of items 1 through 8.
Do I have a motion to approve superintendent's recommendations, personnel 1 through 8?
So moved.
Tom has moved.
Yep, that's me. Second.
I think Tim seconded that.
Can't see them, but I know they're there.
Any discussion?
I wanted to mention something. On these supplementals at the elementaries and junior highs, the board started looking at these, I believe it was 4 years ago. And to be honest, some of them were sort of out of control at the time. And the first year that we asked for some significant paperwork, some documentation, I think Kara Riddle, Mark Christenberry, and I spent an entire evening going through them, asking questions, sending them back for clarification. And then I was away for a couple years, and when we went through them the other day, I was impressed. You know, the principals, the staff have really taken it to heart. The supplementals here are good activities for our students, and there has been such a turnaround in these things. I just thought it should be mentioned.
I appreciate that comment, Tom. I actually wanted to say something along that lines. I feel the principals and the faculty councils have worked very hard to bring the supplementals in line, as well as we've gotten rid of some of the things that just didn't make sense. Many staff members have stepped up to say, hey, I want to start this type of club. Well, could we do this type of club and stuff like that? And so we're seeing more of these clubs and activities for our kids to do after school, and it's just much, much improvement in the last few years. And I also appreciate that. Any other questions? Not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Bybee?
Yes.
Mr. Harden, yes. Mrs. Nickam?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, under B, students and curriculum, recommend the board approve items 1 through 7. Under item 7, I will call out approval of out-of-state trips. The high school choir to New York City on April 3rd through the 6th, and the girls varsity basketball team to Atlanta, Georgia, Christmas Day through the 30th. So no school will be missed on that as it is over Christmas that way. And we do appreciate the board has always been very kind to allow our students to extend education beyond the state of Ohio. So we thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve superintendent's recommendations B, students and curriculum 1 through 7?
So moved.
Dan has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thomas, second. Any questions or discussion? Any volunteers to chaperone? Call the roll, please, Kurt.
Mr. Bybee?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Harden, yes. Mrs. Nickam?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, under item C, gifts, as noted earlier tonight, a monetary donation from the $1 Million Dream of $26,200. Again, Fine Arts and Athletics use that for transportation. We appreciate all the hard work that those young ladies put into it. Monetary donation from Target for $855.36 to the high school Take Charge of Education program.
Do I have a motion to approve superintendent's recommendations, gifts, C1?
So moved.
Tim has moved.
That was
Tom
me.
second.
Blind.
Or vice versa. I really can't see you two.
Can't.
Much better.
Any
Good
comments or
ma'am.
discussion? Just thank you very much, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Blind.
Yes.
Mr. Carr.
Yes.
Mr. Bybee.
Yes.
Mr. Harden, yes. Mrs. Nickam.
Yes, motion carries.
Under item D, business, item 3 and 4, it's recommended the Board of Education accept the bids for the project asbestos hazard abatement at West Main Intermediate and award the hazardous abatement at West Main to Lepi. Is that how you say that, David? Lepi, to Lepi Enterprises Incorporated. I believe they've done work for us in the past at our other projects in the amount of $50,545. Again, you are not approving the tear down of the building, but just the abatement. Also under 5, approval of a successor agreement with the community school sponsorship contract for the Newark Digital Academy. And I just want to point out a couple things that the students have accomplished there. This has been sponsored by the Newark City Schools since its inception. They met state indicators in 10th grade reading and writing, state indicators in 11th grade reading, writing, and math. Projected that NDA's rating for 2011-12 will be continuous improvement with a performance index of 82.1, a 5-year graduation rate of 41.4, 4-year graduation 30.4, and again, those are not realistically, they're not low numbers. These are students who, for one reason or another, chose not to do traditional education. Bev, sit up there. I'm trying to find a place where I can look down here. You're okay, Bev. I can see that through there. NDA 11, 12 ADM, they have 280 students. The majority of those are Newark City school kids, although some are from county districts. So 100% of NDA courses are taught by highly qualified teachers, and staff completes required training through Public School Works. And so there are, I appreciate the work of John Lutz and his staff. They're making progress every year to get better. So,
We have a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation D, business 1 through 5.
So moved.
Dan has moved. Tim is second. Any discussion or questions?
I just wanted to check on the asbestos abatement. That is necessary regardless whether we keep these buildings or decide to tear them down, correct?
no, not necessarily. That's just a step in the process that we're doing. So if the board would decide not to keep the buildings and go through with the project, then it's not a co-funded project with the School Facilities Commission. So even though you're not approving the demolition tonight, you are certainly taking a step in that direction. We have made every attempt to contact anybody who had interest in that building, and there is no interest in that. So as Dave sent out something as a last ditch type of effort 2-3 weeks ago and have not heard back anything. With his explanation was, if you have any interest in this, you need to step forward. And so, as a district, I feel that we've, outside of holding an auction, have made every attempt to see if there was interest in that building.
I'd sort of like to see that go public, that we're sort of at that crossroads and see if there is any interest from somewhere that we would not anticipate.
Then you mean like before we go ahead with the abatement? Because
Well, the abatement is a small enough amount that I'm not sure it's,
But there's also varying degrees of destruction done to the property through the abatement. I mean, at Lincoln, it was very extensive. In other buildings, it's been less extensive. So it depends on what they, am I right, Dave? It depends on what they get into once they get into the level of destruction.
Invasive to that building, not to the degree it was at Lincoln, because there's not as much asbestos there, but there could be holes poked in ceilings and so on, where they have to get at elbows and so on, pipes, to take asbestos out of there. Now, having said that, it would be like knocking off the ceiling in this room. Someone looking at it might say, well, the ceiling's gone, but I could also say, yeah, but there's no asbestos. So it's kind of how you want to look at that.
Yeah.
If you're looking at this building and would want to have it asbestos-free, this is really the only way
Well,
to do that.
That's kind of, that leads to a question I have. If you were going to renovate that building or fix that building up, you'd have to abate that. To go in and do anything, you'd have to abate that
If there were
asbestos.
anything of any significance at all, yes, I would think so.
Yeah, because you can't leave it in. You can't.
And you've had no interest from anybody in the community come your way, any kind of,
Doug and I, Treasury, we've struggled with that for a lot of months, looking at different folks that may have interested in that. Not so much the school building, because in my view, the school building is of really no value to anyone. It would take an incredible amount of money to save that building and make it nice again. Not that it couldn't be used, it's just that
just the cost of
we
renovation.
deferred a lot of stuff knowing that we were, you know, OSFC said abandon that building, don't use it, move on, and we'll do something else. The bigger question was specifically
The gym. Right.
Should someone try to save that? Should some other entity want that? We've not been able to find anybody to step up and say, hey, we'll take over that, because it will take a fair amount of expense. And I'm talking upwards of $250,000, based on JBA's estimate, the local architectural firm, anywhere from $250,000 to $750,000 to make that big gym box stand on its own, with its own heating and air conditioning, sprinkling system, and to rehab that building and save it. And it seems no one has really expressed an interest in spending that kind of money on that building.
I have a couple more questions, I'm sorry. This $50,000 then, that includes both buildings, right?
Yes.
And is this our share or is this the total cost?
This is the total, ours would be half of that. In the end, we're, you know.
Right, eventually.
Unless the district decided not to tear down afterwards.
At some point, and my
Then it's-
discussion, and Doug was there in that discussion with Stacy Thomas, our person from USFC, said that at some point, if we choose not to do anything with this, it's on us. But by the same token, she also expressed that the OSFC doesn't walk away and leave you with an old building, that you have to have done something with it, either gotten rid of it, torn it down. They don't want to leave this district and say, oh, we left this old building there for the district to deal with 3 or 4 years from now, because that's a bad reflection on them. And that was what I understood her to say, Doug, I think.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
She's saying, well, we can't do that. We don't walk away and leave you with an old building.
And the building currently is vacant and unoccupied.
Yes, there's an auction scheduled for October 6th, Saturday. That we're going to get rid of all the loose furnishings, the old teacher's desk and student desk and so on, that we didn't need, of course, because of the newly remodeled building.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything further? If not, call the roll, please, Kurt.
Mr. Bybee?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Harden, yes. Mrs. Nickam?
Yes, motion carries. Board of Education recommendations. I'll announce the intent to adopt board policies. It is recommended the Board of Education announce its intent to adopt the following policies as shown in the appendix. An announcement be made that these policies will be available to the board, staff, and public for inspection in the Office of the Superintendent of Schools from September 11th, 2012 through October 8th, 2012. File 1422.02, non-discrimination based on genetic information of the employee. For the administration, file 3122.02, non-discrimination based on genetic information on the employee professional staff. 4122.02, non-discrimination based on genetic information of the employee classified staff. File 1460, Physical Examination Administration, 3160 Physical Examination Professional Staff, 4160 Physical Examination Classified Staff, File 1623, Section 504 ADA Administration, 3123 Section 504 ADA for Professional Staff, 4123 Section 504 ADA for Classified Staff, File 3120.06, Selecting Student Teachers and Administrative Interns, File 6152.01, Waiver of School Fees for Instructional Materials, File 6460, Vendor Relations, and File 8142, Criminal History Record Check for Contracted School Services. So these will all be available at the board office for inspection for the next month. And now we'll move on to board discussion. We'll start down there with you, Tim.
Oh, well, thanks to the $1 Million Dream and also to Target for gifting us. Those are wonderful things to receive when people are willing to give to support our schools. Thanks to the folks here at Carson for opening up for us, and you guys have been wonderful hosts, even though I understand that Doug brought the cookies. And so.
The high school.
What's that, the high school?
From the high school.
They made them, correct?
Yes, our high school
Yeah,
students.
you
in
saw that article in the
Mulder's class.
paper, and that's a lot of, when you look around, there's a lot of good things going on. It was a fabulous Friday night to be cheering for the Wildcats, but Friday earlier in the day, my kids were a part of the salsa making at Legend Elementary. They raised their own vegetables, and I wish that we'd have done as nice a job in my backyard as they did in theirs. But they were all part of that and got to experience watching it grow, harvesting, and then the funnest part, which of course is putting it on chips. And so they had a great time with that. Just a lot of good things going on.
I'd also like to express thanks to Target and the $1 Million Dream Committee, and not only for the $26,000, but for all their efforts over the last few years. Pay to play has not been an easy situation, and they've made it a little bit better. Also, thank the folks here at Carson, and I want you guys to notice there's one person at this table dressed for the occasion. Sorry, guys.
He brings one to every single school.
Yeah.
He wears one to every single.
You stick around long enough, you got them.
We didn't get the email on the dress code.
I'm done.
I pass.
Again, I want to join everybody in thank yous to Sarah. Thank you for opening this building for us. You know, I don't know if you all have been to other buildings that we have in the district here, but it makes me so proud. Every building that we have in the district, when you walk in, they are just gleaming, and it has to have an effect on the education of our students. They have to be more engaged, I would think. So it just makes me feel good. So Sarah, again, thank you. Jeremy Blake left, I think. I don't see him out there anywhere, but I wanted to thank him for coming tonight. I've known Jeremy for several years, and he just has a lot of interest in the community, and he displays a lot of effort to try to make things better. He truly is a good partner in the community, so I appreciated him being here tonight as well. Tim, you mentioned the football game Friday night. My gosh, you know, some of the things in this community, in the sports community, ringing that bell down at that football field, at our home field, that's a tradition. And, you know, we haven't been able to do that for several years now, but just to be able to do that just this one time was so very special. And, you know, I know that we've got a hard road ahead of us, but when you see these kind of things occur, it just makes you feel good inside because, it makes you feel like everybody is pulling together. So, again, I just want to thank everyone for their efforts. So thank you, Beth.
Schools, we're in week 3 of school, and I'll tell you, it's been a great start to the school year. All of our buildings and staff are reporting that, and I really appreciate the connection we have with the community for safety reasons. We've had a lot of roads tore up, a lot of people doing some alternate routes and those type of stuff on our kids, and please always keep that in mind as you're driving around. So I do appreciate the community connection. I appreciate our staff, bus drivers, cooks, teachers, support staff, for the environments that they've created for our students. And I would really like to thank our 6,000 plus students in this district. And that's who I serve in my position. I know that's who our staff serves, and that's why we're in it. Boy, we have some wonderful kids. Kindergartners that seem like they're 18 years old. It's funny. I spent some time around them today, and they make me laugh. And so it's just neat to go in our buildings and see the leadership that we have out of our kids, and I really appreciate that.
I'm excited to be at Carson tonight because I don't have a Carson jacket. I am the hint. I am the board liaison to Carson, so I'm very proud of the Carson students and staff. In fact, I had a Carson 5th grader come up and say hi at the football game Friday night, and he had his Crimson uniform on. He plays on the 5th grade Crimson team, so that was pretty exciting. So always happy to be at Carson. Spent some time here a couple of weeks ago, but I'm very proud of the staff and the students here, and they work hard. And find the rest of my notes. Oh yeah, South Newark, I appreciate what South Newark is doing to partner with Ben Franklin and getting some stuff done there in the South End, and that was nice of Jeremy to stop by and talk about that project that the community and the kids really responded well to, so that was very nice. And marching band season starts off Saturday. They go to their first contest. Follow me on Twitter to find out if they qualify for state. And so good luck to the Pride this next weekend, and go Cats in general to all our sports teams and fine arts programs. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the personnel matter, and we do not intend to have any business when we return.
So moved.
Dan is moved. Tom is second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bybee?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Harden, yes. Mrs. Nickam?
Yes. We'll adjourn to executive session. It's now 7:02.